The stories presented in this video are real, but we have changed the characters' names and altered images to protect their identities. The creator of this video is not an investigative officer. These narratives have been sourced from various internet platforms. Our intent is not to accuse or target anyone in particular. Thank you for understanding.
Welcome to True Crime Stories Hub. Today, we'll be exploring a terrifying case that takes place in the early 2022 calm suburb of Fairview, Oregon. An apparently ideal family, dark secrets, and a convoluted murderous scheme are all part of our story. Mia Thompson was a devoted mother and wife who never imagined that her blissful existence would become a nightmare. Mia, 37, was a home-based web developer who lived in the sleepy town of Fairview, Oregon. Jack, her 41-year-old husband, ran a construction business. Ava, who was 11, and Ethan, who was 9, were their two children. Because of her generosity and commitment to her family, Mia was well-liked in her town. She juggled her involvement in local events with her work creating websites for small businesses. Local publications frequently featured and appreciated her work. Mia's creative abilities aided nearby companies in developing stunning web presences. In addition to her abilities, her clientele loved her for her kind disposition and sincere desire to see others succeed. Jack appeared to be the ideal spouse. He was regarded as a loving partner and parent, and his construction company seemed to be doing well. The community respected him because his company had constructed numerous residences and businesses in Fairview. Whether it was funding the neighborhood Little League team or repairing a neighbor's home, Jack was always willing to lend a hand. The Thompsons appeared to have it all to everyone else. Two wonderful children, a beautiful home, and prosperous careers. However, Jack had secrets that would soon ruin this reputation. Mia started seeing odd behavior from Jack in the last few months. He began making cryptic phone calls, arriving home late, and appeared to be getting more and more irritated. Mia had a gut feeling that something was seriously off. She heard Jack on a furious phone call one evening. Suspicion was aroused by the snatches of discussion she managed to capture. He brought up Rachel, Mia's best friend, debts, and threats. Mia was actively involved in Westfield Elementary, the school where her kids attended. She planned activities, cooked goodies for school functions, and volunteered and participated in the PTA. Her cakes and pastries were popular. In order to teach children web design and programming, she also founded an after-school coding club. Mia was occupied with organizing a trip to Yellowstone National Park for the family. It was intended to be a respite from their hectic schedules, an opportunity to reconnect and take in the scenery. Finding the greatest routes, resorts, and family-friendly activities took Mia hours. She was particularly thrilled to use her new camera to capture the breathtaking scenery of the park. In an effort to expand her web development business, Mia was also engaged in a significant project for a startup. Mia was hired by the startup, an organic skincare firm, to design a marketing strategy and update their online store. She viewed this as an opportunity to advance her company. She devoted numerous hours to researching market trends, creating prototypes, and coming up with fresh concepts. Before things happened, life appeared to be full with possibilities. Mia's neighbor, Samuel Lewis, made a startling discovery early on April 10, 2022. During his morning exercise, Samuel, a retired firefighter, observed something strange. At the Thompson home, the garage door, which was normally closed, was ajar. Having lived next door for almost a decade, Samuel was familiar with their routines. Mia was always cautious about house security, so it seemed odd that she left the garage door open. Samuel walked curiously over to the garage. From behind the door, he noticed a tiny pool of blood leaking. Panic made his heart race. When Samuel forced the door open, he discovered Mia dead and severely battered, lying in a pool of blood. Nearby was a heavy, blood-stained wrench that was probably the murder weapon. Samuel's instincts as a firefighter took over. He contacted 911 after making a fast assessment of the situation. He remained composed yet firm. He stood watch to make sure no one disturbed the scene as he awaited the arrival of the authorities. His hands trembled as he mentally reenacted the terrible scene. Detectives Jane Foster and Michael Blake led the investigation when the Fairview Police Department swiftly arrived. The bloodstains in the garage, which revealed a fierce struggle, were a horrifying sight. There were indications of a vicious attack on Mia's body. The cops took pictures and gathered evidence as they meticulously chronicled the incident. Mia's neat life was in sharp contrast to the garage walls, which were now covered with blood. Experienced investigator Detective Foster took a close look at the wrench. She identified it as crucial evidence after noticing the hair and blood on it. Her partner, Detective Blake, conducted an interview with Samuel to learn more about his discovery and any recent strange activity he had observed. When word of Mia's passing spread, the neighborhood was taken aback. Samuel helped the detectives create a timeline by giving them a thorough explanation of his discovery. Unaware of the tragedy, Ava and Ethan were still asleep inside the house. The detectives ensured that the kids were brought to their grandparents' house safely. The tragedy in the garage stood in stark contrast to the serene setting inside the house. Known for their meticulous work, Detectives Foster and Blake were committed to finding a swift solution. There were shattered things and overturned cartons in the garage, evidence of a violent battle. The blood-stained wrench was gathered as crucial proof. Samples of DNA and fingerprints were collected from the scene. In the hopes of gaining additional information regarding Mia's final moments, the investigators also located her cell phone. There were no indications of forced entry inside the residence, indicating that Mia was familiar with her assailant. This reduced the number of suspects to those who knew her well. They pieced together Mia's final days by speaking with friends and neighbors. She was characterized by many as happy and occupied with her family ambitions and projects. Nobody was aware of the shadowy presence beneath. Jack Thompson emerged as the primary suspect in the death of his wife. He ran an apparently successful construction company at the age of 41. But it became out that Jack had been keeping important secrets. Jack engaged in illicit activities, such as gambling and money laundering. In reality, his seemingly successful construction company served as a front for his illicit activities. Jack was under pressure from his criminal accomplices and owed a lot of money. Jack's company was on the verge of going bankrupt. He was under a lot of financial strain and had taken out numerous loans. To make matters more complicated, Jack was also having an affair with Rachel, Mia's best friend. On the afternoon of April 10, 2022, Detectives Foster and Blake brought Jack in for interrogation. Jack asserted his innocence and stated that he was at his workplace when the crime occurred. His alibi was flimsy, though, and his manner was aloof. Jack acknowledged having an affair, but he denied being involved in Mia's passing. He appeared to be more concerned with his business than the passing of his wife. After Jack's bank transactions and phone records were reviewed, it was discovered that he had been in contact with Rachel on a regular basis and that many of the transactions were questionable. In addition, the detective spoke with acquaintances and neighbors, many of whom were taken aback by Jack's double existence. A few neighbors remembered Jack's tense behavior in the weeks leading up to Mia's passing. They said that he was becoming more and more anxious and reticent, frequently leaving the house late at night and coming back early. Jack continued to be the prime suspect as the investigation progressed. In order to learn more about Jack's possible motivations and involvement in Mia's murder, The investigators planned to examine Rachel and kept examining his financial records. The Fairview neighborhood was rocked by Jack's arrest. A grisly murder had made the once respected businessman a main suspect. When Jack's business activities were made public, a network of dishonesty and illegal conduct was revealed. Many of the town's residences and businesses were constructed by his construction company, which served as a front for his illicit activities. Jack had been using his company to conceal the illegal funds while laundering money for a local criminal organization. Jack was found to have been embezzling money from his own business to settle his gambling debts by detectives Foster and Blake. To make up for his losses, he had taken out a lot of loans and mortgaged the family home and other valuables. The financial burden was too much to handle. Jack therefore resorts to drastic means to conceal his secrets. An further element of betrayal was introduced by Jack's affair with Mia's best friend, Rachel. Rachel had known Mia for years and was a successful real estate agent. Although their friendship appeared sincere, the affair exposed a darker aspect. For more than a year, Rachel and Jack had been meeting in secret at Rachel's apartment and at hotels. The excitement of secrecy and the risk of being discovered drove their passionate and intense connection. On April 11, 2022, Rachel was taken in for questioning by Detective Foster and Blake. She acknowledged the affair but denied any role in Mia's murder, seeming apprehensive but helpful. Rachel said she was unaware of Jack's illicit activities and characterized their relationship as entirely emotional. Her phone records, however, showed a sharp contrast, with multiple chats concerning Jack's financial difficulties and their future plans. Co-workers and friends characterized Rachel, Mia's best friend and co-worker, as hardworking and ambitious, frequently prioritizing her work over her personal life. Given that Rachel and Mia shared both personal and professional details of their lives, their friendship had appeared sincere. But others pointed out that Rachel had been more reticent and anxious lately, perhaps as a result of her relationship with Jack. Rachel was clearly rattled during the second round of interrogation, but she remained cooperative. She restated that the romance with Jack had nothing to do with Mia's passing and was only emotional. She acknowledged having moments of jealousy over their jobs despite their apparent inseparability, suggesting underlying tensions that might have served as the driving force for the crime. In an effort to learn more about Rachel's involvement in the circumstances surrounding Mia's death, the investigators kept collecting evidence. Numerous texts between Rachel and Jack were found in her phone records. They talked about both work-related and personal issues. These communications alluded to plans for the future and implied that Rachel was intimidated by Mia's involvement in Jack's life. According to friends and co-workers, Rachel is competitive and driven, frequently going above and beyond to accomplish her objectives. There are a number of possible reasons for Rachel's motivation. Mia's confidence was severely betrayed by her romance with Jack, which may have resulted in a heated argument if Mia had discovered it. Envy and animosity might have resulted from Rachel's drive and aspirations for achievement. Rachel was defensive during the interrogation, although she wasn't particularly combative. She was cautious when responding to the detective's questions. According to Rachel, Jack informed her that he intended to break up with Mia and that their relationship will soon be formally recognized. This gave the study a new dimension. As it implied, Mia's presence in Jack's life may have made Rachel feel threatened. Additionally, Rachel's financial records were reviewed by detectives Foster and Blake, who discovered multiple sizable payments that were inexplicable given her real estate profits. This gave rise to concerns that Rachel may have been, consciously or unknowingly, complicit in Jack's unlawful actions. Interviews with Rachel's friends and co-workers revealed that many were shocked by her relationship with Jack. Although they were shocked to hear about the romance, they characterized Rachel as motivated and career-focused. In recent months, Rachel appeared more tense and reticent, according to several. Despite the importance of Rachel's involvement with Jack, there was no concrete proof that she was responsible for Mia's death. In an effort to learn more about her involvement in the circumstances surrounding Mia's death, the investigators kept collecting evidence. The investigation's focused on Rachel's behavior and motivations. Logan Wright, a private investigator that Mia had engaged only weeks before to her death, was the third person of interest in the case. Logan was 45 years old, seasoned, and renowned for his determination to find the truth. Mia hired Logan because she suspected Jack of financial misconduct and infidelity. Logan had been compiling proof against Jack, including his criminal activity. Mia had intended to provide Jack with the proof and file for divorce. Her murder was probably sparked by this altercation. Logan was hauled in for interrogation on April 12, 2022. Logan gave the detectives thorough reports and evidence against Jack as he described his discoveries. According to him, Mia was adamant about defending her kids and beginning a new life apart from Jack. Jack's financial difficulties and his involvement with Rachel had been discovered by Logan's investigation. Logan's motivation was obvious. He wished to do Mia justice. After working closely with her, he had come to admire her fortitude. His evidence and testimony were essential in establishing Jack's guilt. Logan's friends and associates characterized him as thorough and committed. They commended his dedication to finding the truth and assisting his customers. The detective's case against Jack was strengthened by Logan's contribution to the case, which included fresh information and proof. According to Logan's investigation, Jack was a member of a local crime syndicate in addition to embezzling money. The substantial amounts of money flowing through Jack's accounts and the threats he had received from his criminal associates were explained by this relationship. Logan had painstakingly recorded these discoveries, giving the police a comprehensive picture of Jack's illicit actions. Logan also interviewed a number of people who had fallen prey to Jack's tactics for his reports. According to these reports, the man was prepared to kill at any cost in order to defend his empire. The investigators were aware that establishing a strong case against Jack would require this material. Armed with overwhelming evidence, the Fairview Police Department arrested Jack Thompson on April 14, 2022, for the murder of Mia. According to the investigation, Jack killed Mia to keep her from disclosing his illicit actions and affair. The detectives had obtained witness statements, money data, and phone records, among other important pieces of evidence. To make the arrest, Detectives Foster and Blake showed up at Jack's office. Jack was shocked when the investigators told him of his accusations during a meeting. He made an effort to seem calm, but his eyes betrayed his shame and anxiety. When Jack was arrested, his co-workers were shocked. The proceedings of Jack's trial were drawn out and intricate. Financial records, phone conversations, and the testimony of important witnesses like Rachel Evans and Logan Wright were among the many pieces of evidence the prosecution produced. In court, the specifics of Jack's unlawful actions and his wife's horrific death were revealed. After being charged for her role in the illicit activities, Rachel ultimately consented to testify against Jack in return for a lighter sentence. Her testimony, which shed light on Jack's intentions and behavior prior to Mia's murder, was an essential component of the prosecution's case. Logan's thorough reports and supporting documentation strengthened the case against Jack. In addition to Jack's financial wrongdoings, his research had shown his ties to the criminal organization. Logan's evidence gave a detailed account of Jack's actions and his growing desperate attempt to conceal his truths. Jack was given a life sentence without the chance of release after being found guilty of several offenses, including first-degree murder. Although justice was done, it would take years for Jack's acts to mend the wounds they caused. Fairview was captivated by Jack Thompson's arrest and ensuing trial. The whole scope of Jack's misdeeds, including money laundering, unlawful gambling, and the savage death of his wife were made public during the trial. With testimony from Rachel, Logan, and other important witnesses, the prosecution made a strong case. In exchange for a lighter sentence, Rachel, who was charged with participating in the unlawful acts, testified against Jack. Her testimony shed light on Jack's intentions and the events that led to Mia's murder. Logan's thorough reports and supporting documentation strengthened the case against Jack. Jack was ultimately convicted of several offenses, including first-degree murder, and given a life sentence without the chance of release. Although justice was done, it would take years for Jack's acts to mend the wounds they caused. Ava and Ethan, Mia's children, were adopted by their grandparents, who gave them a caring environment. During the family's moment of loss, the community came together to support and help them. Through her art and the memories she left behind, Mia's legacy endured. She was remembered by friends and family as a devoted wife, a loving mother, and a positive influence. Mia Thompson's story serves as a terrifying reminder of how lies and secrets can ruin even the most perfect lives. It is a story about murder, treachery, and the unrelenting quest for justice. Even though Mia's life was tragically cut short, the truth eventually won out, exposing the darkness that had been concealed for so long and bringing her killer to justice. Mia's story serves as a powerful reminder of the value of honesty and the terrible results of dishonesty. It is an unforgettable tale that serves as a warning to everyone who hears it. When Mia realized Jack was lying, could she have done more to protect herself and her kids? What obligations do neighbors and friends have when they see indications of marital problems? Tell us. Stay tuned as we delve deeper into these compelling true crime tales, each one more startling than the last. To ensure that you never miss a second of the drama, the mystery, and the terrifying outcomes of lives lived on the edge, subscribe now.